We've got right over here. Let's bring in the governor from the Commonwealth of Virginia, Glenn Youngkin. Good morning, you governor.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Lawrence, congratulations. It's so much fun to be here. You were in Virginia with us during the campaign, so it's great to see you.
Congratulations on your win as well, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Governor, let's talk a little bit about, Jackie was just talking about, so we're going to unfreeze that $6 billion. It was South Korean money that was frozen during the Trump administration. Iran's going to get the money. They say they can use it for anything they want, although we think it's for humanitarian reasons only.
They're going to use it for whatever they want.
Yeah.
Money's fungible, and they'll just move it from one account to the next.
Why the money? Why not just do the prisoner exchange?
Yeah, I'm shocked as well. I don't understand that. I think listen, getting Americans back is of the utmost importance, and clearly there was an opportunity for an exchange here. I have no idea why the money was thrown on the table, but let's just be clear. That money will not go where they have promised the Biden administration where it's going to go, and I think it's representative.
You don't trust them?
The Biden administration, I think, is naive. They're naive when it comes to how they deal with Iran. They're naive the way they deal with China. And let's just be clear. These are nations led by a communist party or a dictator that are going to do whatever they want to do. And they're going to say what they need to say in order to get what they want.
You brought up China, and over the weekend it was reported, I think on ABC, that there was meetings between the foreign secretary of China in Malta with Jake Sullivan. Again, another official meeting with China. They don't meet with us. We don't have communications with them military to military. Are they more vulnerable than they let on economically? You know so much about them from your previous career.
Yeah, well, first of all, they are vulnerable economically right now. We're seeing this economy that was really built on centralized planning stumble seriously, and it starts with an overbuilding of real estate all over the nation, forcibly funded by Chinese Communist Party controlled banks and other institutions. And so they've got a real challenge. And of course, the single child policy is going to come back as their demographics have shifted so hard. It's going to come back and bite them because they've got to pay for all of this. So they are really struggling economically. The reality is we just have to recognize that China is trying to dominate the world, and they will do everything in their possibility to do it. And that includes economic imperialism, forcing American companies to do what they want outside of China in order to keep access to that market. It includes massive surveillance, which we're seeing all over, not just balloons, but what's happening in Cuba, what's happening with Chinese communist citizens coming into states like Virginia, across the border, trying to get access to our military establishments, and it's saber rattling all the time against our best allies like Taiwan. I mean, this is a moment that we have to step back and we have to recognize that these are not friends, and we've got to meet them with real strength. And the Biden administration continually shows weakness, and that is at America's detriment.
Governor, I want to switch gears with you. You're in a swing state. We covered your election heavily. We saw the change in the polling where you were down in the polling, and you really took the issue of parental rights. As we go into this next election, what do you think the messaging of the GOP needs to be to win the White House?
Well, we have a great window into that right now in Virginia because we're off cycle and we have our midterms. Our entire House and our entire Senate is up here starting in 5 days. We start early voting and we have a 50-day sprint to November the 7th. And I think the issues in Virginia today are just a precursor to the issues we'll see in 2024. What are people in Virginia worried about? They're worried about the cost of living and the impact that Bidenomics has had on their lives. Every time they go to a grocery store, it's a gut punch. They can't make ends meet. They're also hugely concerned about their children's education and the learning loss that has been persistent following terrible, terrible decisions made previously to keep schools closed for an extended period of time is having a lasting impact, particularly on our younger kids. And they're terribly concerned about safety. And of course, we're seeing the free flow of drugs coming over the border make its way to every state. Every state is a border state, and the cartel's reach is deep, and the gangs and illegal drug trade is causing 5 Virginians a day on average die from fentanyl overdoses. I mean, 5 a day. These are the realities that are on voters' minds in Virginia this year, and I think they're the same realities that will be on Americans' minds next year.
So you have said children belong to families, not to the state. So many people agree with you. That's part of the reason why you won in Virginia, because parents were fed up with the government trying to tell us how to raise our own children. We're seeing that in your state of New Jersey with what they're telling schools. There's also a new poll that we wanted to ask you about. They polled men and women to find out who's the happiest. And women who were married with children, 40% said they're very happy. It drops to 25% for married and no children, and it keeps dropping. If you talk to a woman who doesn't have a child, and then it drops for unmarried women with children to 17%. As far as men, 35%. You can see right there, married fathers are the happiest. Your reaction?
Well, I'm really happy. And so I'm part of that 35%. It's just, I think, encouraging to see something that we believe in our hearts is probably right. I've had the great blessing of nearly 30 years of marriage to an amazing woman, Suzanne. We have 4 great kids. And listen, raising a family is hard. And in today's world where the family is being assaulted by Bidenomics, and it's so expensive to raise a family. I mean, 60% of Americans can hardly make ends meet today. We see the role of social media completely invading families' lives and causing behavioral health and mental health challenges beyond anything we've ever seen before. So it's hard to raise a family today. And yet the blessing of a forever partner and kids is really special. So I was really pleased to see the results here, although they weren't surprising. And again, I'm constantly thankful every day for my amazing wife and our kids.
So, Governor, I know of some top Republicans who would be very happy if you wound up running for president of the United States this cycle. Of course, I know you're laser focused on Virginia. You would like the Republicans to control both of the chambers. But, after November 7th, what are you going to do? Let's say you win.
Well, first of all, we fully intend to win. And this is the most important election, I think, in America right now, because it is a real step to finish.
What's the balance right now?
So our House, we control 52-48. The Senate is controlled 22-18 by the Democrats. And so we got to hold our House and flip our Senate. And here we have, Lawrence, back to the topic we were talking about earlier, a chance to step forward and demonstrate the issues for 2024 in Virginia in 2023. Are we going to allow parents to raise their children, or are we going to allow the state to step in and intervene? Are we going to support victims or criminals? Are we going to make sure that Virginians have access to their money, or are we going to let the government continue to spend it? These are the same issues that I think are so important for us to demonstrate in Virginia, that a state that used to be very blue, in fact, can stand up and completely pivot. And that's what's so exciting. So I am laser focused on Virginia. I'm laser focused on us holding our House, flipping our Senate. That's why we have a huge early voting program this year. We got to get people off the sidelines. We have 45 days of early voting. We rolled out secureyourvotevirginia.com and have encouraged everybody, register to vote early, make a plan to vote early so that we, in fact, can win this most important
Governor,
election.
you saw the debate a month ago, 3 weeks ago, and there's another debate next week. Is there anyone on that stage where you thought, they got much more on the ball than I do? I could never get the nomination as long as they're in the race.
Well, they're all campaigning in Iowa, and I'm campaigning in Virginia. So we're just doing different things.
What do you think about the talent on the stage?
But I'm impressed by the talent on the stage. I mean, think about it. We've got extraordinary governors. We've got folks that have led the nation in various ways in foreign policy that's critical. And we have a former president. So we have great talent. The key thing for us is we have to win. I mean, the future of the nation is at stake. We've watched what Joe Biden has done to this nation over the last few years. Our foreign policy is a disaster, as we have an open border that is allowing our foreign enemies to come across unconstrained. We've been weak with Russia. We've been weak with China. We've watched our economy fall apart, truly. We've watched Bidenomics truly steal hard-earned money. Start-earned money. I know, but Americans and Virginians know the truth. And when they go to the grocery store or they try to shop for their children, they understand the reality of what he's done to this nation economically. And I would say, finally, the future of our nation is our kids. And what the liberal left has done to our kids in terms of educating them for the future is a true travesty. Schools were shut for an unnecessary period of time. Virginia was 44th in the nation in getting kids back in the classroom. The learning loss is deep and pervasive, particularly for our young kids. We have got to provide the kind of resources to get them back.
What candidate in the race, and I'm not asking you to endorse, but Who is best for Virginia then in this race right now that you see on that stage?
I think we know
in
the
the former
answer to
president.
I'm going to let Virginians choose when it's time.
Right.
My big observation is we have great candidates who reflect a different path forward than what Joe Biden, and we have got to win in 2024.
Will
Full
you
stop.
ever run? Will you ever run for president?
Oh, goodness gracious.
You haven't decided, have you?
Yeah, well, no, what we're doing now is doing the best job we can as governor. And I have to say, I've never gotten a promotion in life without doing a really good job in the one that I'm in. And I'm focused on doing a really good job in the one that I think we're doing well. Listen, Virginia was in the bottom third in the nation in job growth when we came in. We're now top 4 since then in job growth. We have the largest workforce in the history of Virginia. Wow. We've just hit a 12-year high in labor participation. Right. Our kids are getting huge focus. We've just rolled out intensive tutoring and a big program to combat chronic absenteeism, because what happened in the last administration was they taught families and kids that not being in school was okay, and it's not okay. They've got to be in school.
Can I make one suggestion? As a former basketball player that likes to fill his time by working out, you watch Doug Bergram play basketball and tear his Achilles. Will that keep you from playing basketball before a big election?
Well, I do still like to play basketball, although I have to say my kids now beat me routinely, right. And so I'm real hesitant to getting on the court. You know, there's a big difference between 20-year-olds and a 56-year-old, and so I'm really careful.
Real quickly, you've run businesses. What would you tell these big automakers, because they're striking, the workers are striking right now?
Yeah, I'd say cut a deal. It's time, and put people in a room. Listen, I've watched these hard-working Americans who are on strike, interviewed on many shows. They want to go back to work, and of course, the automakers want them back to work.
They want their benefits back that they lost at the collapse in 08.
They did, but here we see again the Biden administration driving this myopic focus on everything being green, and they recognize that more electric vehicles means fewer jobs.
Yes.
And that's just
40%
clear.
fewer.
And on top of that, their own increases in salaries haven't kept up with Bidenomics-driven inflation. And so this is a real indictment, I think, on the Biden administration, who's supposed to be pro-labor. He's not helping labor. He's actually making the cost of living in America run away from them. They should come together. They should agree a deal. I think both parties have the right incentives, and it's just a matter of getting it done.
Well, listen, if your party wins both houses of the legislature down in Virginia, and mid-December you want to make a big announcement, stop by. We've always got room on the couch for you.
Thank you. What we need between here and there is voters to get off the sidelines, Republican voters to go vote, hold our House, flip our Senate, and make a statement for America that a state that was blue can wake up and say, no, that is failing us, and we are going to have common sense conservative policies, and we are going to win.
You sound like you're running for something.
Right. Governor, great to see you.
Great to see you. Thank you so much for having me. Congratulations again, Lawrence. Always fun. Listen, there's still room on this sofa.
I know. Yeah.
We've got one person behind you
who's dying to do the news.
And Carly's right there.
I love when Governor Youngkin comes in studio, because we always get to talk behind the scenes, and you're so generous with your time, Governor. So
thank you
for coming in and joining us this morning. We always appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, got some more.